Any questions on what we said? So we cover so far only two conditions, but he will try and to summarize a little. Okay, so we are on topic. It's Siman 52 and Sif number 3, and and we are on topic of blessings. And now we're going to see so the topic Ha'etz, Ha'adama, and Shechakol blessing. Okay, so Ha'etz is a fruit of the tree, Ha'adama fruit of the ground, and Shechakol is everything else. Okay, so number 3 is mushroom and truffles. Although they grow from the moisture in the ground, the nourishment is not drawn from the ground, but rather from the air. Therefore, they are not classified as a produce of the ground, and the blessing Barepricha Adama and the blessing Adama who created the fruit of the ground cannot be recited upon them. Instead, we recite Shechakol blessing upon them. And so let's quickly read the commentary, and we're going to explain. They're nourished by the moisture of the ground, and they absorb some of the air. Okay, Brocha 6. So it's actually even from a Talmud, right? So our sages knew always said that the mushroom and truffles they get the nourishment from the air. Of course, some from the ground, but mostly from the air. That's why we cannot say it is a fruit of the ground, right? We say shechakol. So some people say it's exception. So some person tried to memorize some years ago, and he said, okay, that's I said it's not an exception. That's a rule. It's not an exception. So, for example, the carrot get the nourishment from the ground, so you say the fruit of the ground. Apple get the nourishment from the tree. You say the fruit from the tree. But these mushrooms, those mushrooms take the nourishment from the air. Okay. So it's that's why it's shechakol. Okay. Continue. Number 4. We do not recite Barepricha 8 or Barepricha Adama blessing upon raw fruit or the vegetable unless it is something that is suitable to be eaten raw. And common practice is to eat them raw. Okay. So it's very important point. So if there is common practice to eat these fruits raw or vegetable raw, you say Barepricha Adama, Barepricha. But if not, for example, raw potatoes. People, I don't know, maybe some people eat raw potatoes. I don't know. I tried a few times. Didn't like it very much. But you on a cooked potato, baked potato, you say Barepricha Adama, but not on a raw potato. Right? Okay. So if people eat this fruit or vegetable, we can even say in a place where you are right now. So if you're visiting the place, meaning that you're going to stay there less than 30 days, right? So you can say whatever in your locale people are saying on this blessing on this. But if you move to a different place, so you adopt the customs of that place. So you switch whatever they say on that fruit or vegetables. So that's what you say. Okay, so 1 second. An example. I remember learning the example that they do is what was the squash. So, for example, in the United States, sometimes they eat raw squash, right? Like they put it in a salad, and same with string beans. They also eat raw in a salad. But if you go to Israel and in Europe, they don't eat the squash raw, usually, in most of the places, the way I understand, and same with the string beans. I mean, so they would say one blessing, and you would say another blessing, right? So since for you it's normal to eat raw, so you would say Barepricha Adama. For them, it's not normal to eat raw, for example, and that's all they eat, right? For example, so they would say Shechakol.
Hello?
Yes.
You have to adapt to the customs of the place if you move there, or
Yes.
only or when you're visiting too.
So it's if you under the 30 days, so it's your visitor, and unless you made your mind to move. So if you made your mind to move, so from the day one you adopt the customs of that place. So customs of the place. So what else the custom? I would say another good example. So it's a good question. And another good example we learned in a class before this one was the business dealings. So even though like you follow Shulchan Aruch, you follow Rambam, let's say, right? But in some areas there is a local custom, and that's how people do. So if you agree differently, there is no problem whatsoever. So you and your partner agree, there is no problem whatsoever. But if you do not specify any details, right? If you did not, right? So we go by the local custom, and it was assumed that that's what you're going to follow. Understand? Not actually. If local custom is different from Shulchan Aruch, so we will go by local custom. Understand? So if it's not against the Torah, of course. Right? Good question. Any other questions before we continue? Okay, no problem. So continue. However, if it is not common practice to eat it raw, but only cooked, like potatoes or these string beans, as we said, right? Even if it is also good to eat when it's raw, nevertheless, it is not considered so significant in its raw state, and we do not recite the blessing Ha'etz or Ha'adama upon eating it, unless one eats it cooked. But if he eats it raw, he recites only Shechakol blessing upon it. So let's do the sentence. Believe it or not, it's all one sentence. Baruch HaShem, very long. And there are a few commentaries, so let's understand this part. Some of it we already said, but let's do what Kitzur says. However, it is not common practice to eat it raw. So as we said, this squash, for example, right? But only cooked. Even if it is only good to eat cooked when it's raw, even if it is also good to eat it when it's raw. So it is also good, but only by minority of the people. But it's not as good as when it's cooked, right? Nevertheless, it is not considered so significant in a raw state. So meaning it's like it's not normal. So for example, for apples, it's normal to eat it baked or raw, right? That's normal, but not here. Okay, not in squash, for example. And we do not recite the blessing, ha'etz or ha'adama upon eating it. So meaning no regular blessing, right? Unless one eats it cooked. So if it's like majority of the people eat in this locale raw, for example, or I mean cooked, right? Cooked, and you would like to eat it raw because of some health reason or whatever, right? I think a health reason is a good example. So still you say shechakol, and when it's cooked you say bara pri ha'etz or bara pri ha'adama. Okay, so let's see the commentary. If fruit or vegetable was planted with intention that it will prepared by cooking, it does not reach the optimal status as a fruit or vegetables until it is prepared in this way. That's very interesting. We're going to explain. Wow. Thus, in places where it's common practice to eat a certain fruit or vegetables only cooked, one cannot refer to it as a pri ha'etz, a fruit of the tree, or pri ha'adama, the fruit of the ground, until it is cooked. So we're going to explain. It's actually I'm going to give a practical example. So let's do this from the beginning, and we're going to explain. It's a lot of information here. If the fruit or vegetable is planted with intention that it will be prepared by cooking, right? So, for example, all this The example that I have, it's very interesting example. Not everybody agree, but here's the thing. So it says, for example, if they planted oranges, right, the orange trees, with the intention that all of these oranges would be used only for juice, right? Not eat it as a fruit. So you always say shehakol. So this, no, I apologize. So on this orange juice, you would say bare prichoetz, because as he said, that was the original intention how this final fruit is going to be eaten, right? The final product is going to be eaten. So that's exactly follow what it says in this comment. And some people say, how is it possible? People say because they never learned. That's actually valid halachic opinion. So some oranges they grow to be sold as fruits, and some oranges they grow as a fruits and for orange juice, right, or for other things. So it's so if it 1 second. So if it is mixed, so you say bore prichoetz, of course. But if it is for sure, so many authorities would say that you have to say bore prichoetz on orange juice. Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So, Rabbi, would this mostly apply to a person that does, I don't know, like if he knows he like gardening, like if someone plants I don't know, he plants trees and he's like, okay, this tree I'm gonna make it for juice. So that means he will have to say ha'itz for that one?
Oh no, juice. Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But since we don't know, like let's say if you buy, I don't know, juice out if you buy juice, you're always gonna say shahakol. Because you don't know, like, if they got it for the just eating or for drinking.
Exactly, and sometimes just so we know, so these big companies, they usually buy the oranges from other people, from other farmers. It's not only like local. You understand? And some of them. So I'm explaining why we say shehakol, just so you know. So in your case, whatever you say, it's straightforward. But this big company, this Florida Natural, this what others? I don't know, whatever brands, like national brands. So of course they buy from different farmers, and even from overseas, from Brazil, from other countries, from South America. Right, and then and even in a powder form. So in a powder form, it for sure, like when it says from concentrate, so for sure you say shehakol. There's nothing fruity in there. You understand? So it's they dehydrate it, and then they bring to the factory, wherever they bottle it, and they add water. That's it. That's what they do, and they mix. So because it is mixed. And it's not known for sure, so we say shehakol. But technically, if you know, for example, you buy this orange juice from your local farmer, right? And you know him. That he only grows for these oranges for juice. Yeah, that's what you say, or apples, whatever is it. Understand? Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yes, you're welcome. It's a very interesting question. So, but because of the doubts, we can rely on lenient opinion and say shehakol on these juices. Multiple doubts. Okay, so continue. So let me read this sentence one more time because we're going to learn more from this. If fruit or vegetables planted with the intention that it will be prepared by cooking, by cooking, it does not reach the optimal status as a fruit or a vegetable until it prepared in this way. For example, they grow carrots, for example, right? And they supply some company that makes canned food, right? So the whole field or fields, multiple fields, only to supply that company. That's the whole business. They don't eat carrots. don't want to look at the carrots, they disgusted by carrots, right? So the farmers themselves. But if this guy decided to try the raw carrots, so he would say would have to say shechakol, because that's not final product. Final product in his mind, exactly as a commentary here is saying, is a cooked state. Okay, so until it is cooked, is not complete, and right, it's not complete fruit. And we're going to say, for example, the fruit that is not ripe completely, so it's also not fruit. It's not optimal way of eating this fruit. So we would say shechakol if it's edible, right? So that's also very important. Continue. Thus, in places where the common practice is to eat a certain fruit or vegetables only cooked, right? One cannot refer to it as a pri chayetz, the fruit of the tree, or a pri chadama, the fruit of the ground, until it is cooked. So now again, in this sentence, we go to the local custom, whatever these people do, right? They eat raw vegetable only cooked, so that's it. So it's only bare pri chadama, right, or bare pri chayetz only when it's cooked. If not, not. And things change, of course, right? If you go to the different places. So until just recently, when sushi became popular, right, or somewhat popular among many people. So one of the example of the muktzah that we would give, like even 15, 20 years ago, it's in all of the books, all across the books, lucky books, right? So we would say raw fish. Right? So raw fish is muktzah like as a raw meat. Of course, in the olden days, like people ate their own meat and they chew on raw meat, and you learn the Gemara. Yes, yeah, it is true. But after that, like since now, today, like most of the people don't eat the raw meat. You understand? So it is 100% muktzah. You're not allowed to move it on Shabbos. And same example we used to give, me including me, was raw fish. But since this sushi business became so popular, maybe I don't know, last 10 years, maybe 15 years, I don't know, like maybe last 10 years, very popular. I mean, I'm talking about Jewish communities. I'm not talking about in Japan or China or some other country. Of course, they always had this, but in Jewish communities, so raw fish is not. You cannot say so simple that it is raw. It is muktzah. You understand? So some things change, some don't. Okay. And since many people eat sushi, there is so that's no longer muktzah. Okay. So continue. But if he eats it raw, he recite the blessing shechakol upon it. So meaning, so that was the ending of the sentence, this long sentence. So if he eats in a not natural way for this fruit or vegetable, so he says shechakol. Commentary. So and just for so if somebody wants to look further into it, it's from Mishnah Brura. 202:64. And Rashi with Brochos, Brochos with Rashi, 36a. Okay, so then we continue next commentary. Mishnah Brura 205:3 writes that if most people also eat uncooked, and it tastes good that way, Barapri Hadama is recited. So meaning I would say the regular carrots. So I mean I have not eaten carrots for a long time, but I remember when I was little, we ate a lot of carrots. I don't know, for vision, for other things, for blood they say. Okay. Elsewhere, Mishnah Brura indicates that even if significant amount of people eat it in that way, and not necessarily majority, it is still retains its blessing. See Mishnah Brura 261, Halacha 210. Okay, so it's like carrots. I think it's a good example. But potatoes, raw potatoes, I'm sure people eat raw potatoes, but it's a minority. Or raw meat. Okay. Also, I have no doubt that some people would eat raw meat, but it's very small minority. Okay. So continue, actually, with the commentary. If one mistakenly recite Borei Pri Adama on raw vegetables that the taste better than cooked, he has fulfilled a requirement and should not recite another blessing. Mishnah Berurah 263. So if by mistake person, instead of saying shechakol, said Borei Pri Adama on the vegetables, right? There is a better, it tastes better than it cooked. So better means like I would say potato is a good example of better, right? So if we're talking about carrots, is it better raw carrots than cooked carrots? I don't know. Some people like this way. I mean, it's not necessarily better, right? So that would be a good example. Continue. The same commentary, just next paragraph. A fruit or vegetable that is fit to be eaten by both raw and cooked is a subject for Borei Pri or Borei Adama blessing when eaten either raw or cooked. So it's all of the, I guess, fruits. Other exception in fruits, I don't know. Any fruits that cannot eat raw? I don't know. I cannot think of one right now. Maybe there are, but I don't know. So they say, see, Orach Chaim 205:1. So okay, so here's one example that I can give. We have these pistachios, right? So usually, like a majority of pistachios that you buy in a store, they would be roasted with the shell or without shell. Doesn't matter. So of course, sometimes you can buy like a raw pistachio. So on this raw, you would say shechakol, right? But on a process, on a fried ones, right? So you would say Borei Pri Adama. They do not just to remind us, they do not grow on the ground on a tree. They grow on the ground. Okay. So continue. Thus carrots, which are eaten raw as well as cooked, are subject to the blessing Borei Pri Adama, whether eaten raw or cooked. Migras Moshe or Chaim 6:6. Okay. So if it's normal for people eat like this and like this, so there is no problem. So I mean, no problem meaning that you say Borei Pri Adama or Borei Pri Chayetz, whatever it needs to be said. Okay, continue. Very interesting. Pickled food is like so I guess on olive. So olive, usually nobody eats raw olives, right? Usually people eat pickled olives, right? So if somebody tried to eat raw olives, it's not very bitter, so he would say shechakol, if it's edible at all. A pickled food, right? A pickled food is like a cooked food. Therefore, on a pickled cabbage, we recite Borei Pri Adama. Likewise, salted food is like a cooked food with regard to this halacha. Okay, so let's do from the beginning and with commentaries and explanations. A pickled food is like the cooked food. So commentary. If fruit or vegetable is commonly eaten, only pickled, one should recite the shechakol blessing when it's eaten raw. I'm thinking of example of I guess this olives is a good example. Vegetables, maybe beets. I don't know, but on usually people don't eat raw beets. I think maybe some people do, but most of the people don't. So that's another good example. So when you pickle, so pickling is like a cooking, and that's why on Shabbos we're not allowed to pickle. And BeEzrat HaShem, we're planning to start on Wednesday class. When we finish with current topic, we're going to start BeEzrat HaShem laws of the Yom Tov. That's ask Rabbi Reuven, and he said that's what we must learn. Okay, that's what we must learn. Baruch HaShem. So and that's those laws of the Yom Tov we're going to see that you cannot like salt, like put salt on too many vegetables. Why? Because it's like pickling, it's like cooking. You're not allowed. Right? So it's like you're cooking for the next day. Therefore, on a pickled cabbage, we recite Borei Pri Adama. So okay, of course cabbage you can eat raw, and cooked or pickled, right? So pickled again is like cooking. Commentary. Today, the appropriate blessing upon eating raw cabbage in salad or kosla is Borei Adama, since it is a common practice to eat it in this way. See Mishnah Berurah 5:4. I'm not sure why he put this kind. Maybe he they meant that. I'm not sure that that Kitzur meant that on pickled you say hadama, but on a raw you say shechakol. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why he put this commentary. I think forever people ate raw cabbage. Okay. Continue. Likewise, a salted food is like cooked food with regard to this halacha. Commentary. In the context of the salted food, refers to food both that is sitting in salt for many days. See Brochos 38b. So let me see continuation. Okay, no continuation. Let's explain. So, for example, how the salting is cooking, and we're going to see like you have raw fish, right? And if you salt it and put it in even without brine, just salt it and put it there for several hours. The salt is if you put a lot of salt, it's going to cook it, right? I'm not sure about all of the fish, but many fish, that's what they do with salmon. They know how where to cut, do extra cuts, and after 2, 3, 4 hours, you can eat the salmon raw. I mean, it's going to be like a lux, some not the lux that you buy in store, but some close to it. Okay, so this salted means cooking. Okay, we finish that section. Any questions on what we said? Okay, so next one, number 5, very interesting. Says on relish. We recite Borei Adama blessing. So why would you have any question? Okay. Likewise on garlic and onions when they're soft, and it is common practice to eat them raw, even though the most often people eat them only together with bread. Still, we recite Borei Adama on them when eating them without bread as well. However, if they are aged and have developed very sharp taste, and it is therefore unusual to eat them raw, one who does eat them raw should recite Shechakol blessing upon them. And I remember some time ago we learned this halacha, and somebody said, "But who eats the onion raw? I mean, without bread, just onion by itself." One person, he's a little older than us, maybe by 10 years, 15 years or something, right? So he said, I used to eat the garlic, not garlic, the onion raw, right? And he said he's still doing that because he grew up in this very poor, like after the war, like very poor, like his family, very poor country, like, and it was many times it's just not enough food, and the onions were the easiest food to preserve, I guess. And that's all they have, and it's healthy until some time and until some point, and that's what he said. Till this day, he eats raw onions. I think with vegetable oil, but still, that's without bread. Very interesting. So yes, go ahead, please.
We here in South America, we eat, I wouldn't say raw, but we eat onion with a lot of vinegar on it. Mm-hmm. So would that count as if it was pickled? Perhaps?
Yes, yeah, it's cooked for sure. Yeah, vinegar cooks for sure. That's for sure. So why? Because it removes the sharpness. You understand? So I just remember a story. Once we were in Jerusalem, walking on the street, and it was square in a religious neighborhood next to Machane Yehuda. Went to shul to pray, very beautiful shul. right? And it was square, and there were like trees with oranges, and I was so surprised. Nobody they take the oranges, not even kids. There were so many kids, adults, like nobody eats the oranges, and they look like they're ripe, and like I was surprised, like why nobody would eat, like and I was a little hungry. It was in public place, so meaning anybody can take, and nobody takes, so I took one. Right, and I opened, and it was so bitter. It's like unbelievable. I spit it out. I could not eat even one. You understand? Even for the sake of the blessing, I could not swallow it. It was so bitter. So and then we figure out that's why that's the only way to have these oranges in the middle of Yerushalayim. It's to make this not edible. You understand? Otherwise, people would eat for sure. Very interesting. Okay, so let's do this. This see if from the beginning with commentary, and we explain on radish. So radish is also sharp. There are different kind of radishes, but they usually sharp. So usually people don't eat them by themselves, right? But only with a bread or in a salad or something. But some people do, right? On radish, that is we recite Barepricha Dama blessing. So if it's not sharp, I guess. Likewise on a garlic and onions when they're soft. So soft meaning meaning they still still green and stuff like that. Very delicious. Right? You say Barepricha, as it is common to practice to eat them raw. Okay. Even though the most often people eat them only together with bread, still we recite Barepricha Dama on them when eating them without bread as well. So I guess because they're not as sharp, and it's possible like this young onions, like garlics, like so you buy them in a bunch. It's like they even sweet, so they're not even bitter. They're even sweet. I like them. So commentary, Mishnah Brura 5:5 rules that in the places where the vegetables are eaten only with bread, one should always recite shechakol on them when eating them alone. Okay, so going back to the case of one of these the students of ours. So in a place where he came from, so people would say, I guess, I'm not sure if they were absorbed, not absorbed at that time, I'm not sure, but they would say, Barepricha Damam, these onions, right? Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Zatzal, Igras Moshe Rachaim 1, paragraph 64, concurs with this view and writes that the blessing on onions and garlic, whether raw or cooked, is shechakol. Right? So Reb Moshe Zatzal, so and that's how we paskin, concurs with the view that writes that blessing on onions and garlic, raw or cooked, is shechakol. However, on fried onions, one recite hadama. Oh no, what's outside? Stop it, go back. Sorry. So one more time, I apologize if I confuse you. So Mishnah Brura rules that in places where vegetables are eaten only with bread, one should always recite shechakol on them. Okay, so if only with bread, you say shechakol. If you eat it raw, right, by itself. So Rabbi Moshe finds that Zatzal concurs with this view. So right, and writes that the blessing on the onions and garlic, whether raw or cooked, is shechakol. So again, except this person, I don't know anybody who would eat just garlic by itself. It's so sharp. I mean, even if you eat it raw, like a tiny piece, or you chop it in a salad, but raw by itself. Okay, so that's why if somebody decides to eat it raw without anything else, so you say shechakol. But if you eat it with other vegetables, let's say, so don't say the blessing on the garlic. Say blessing, let's say, on a cucumber, and the garlic is covered. And keep in mind that it should cover the garlic as well. So, but by itself you say shechakol. However, the fried onions, One recite Hadama blessing because the frying process improved the taste of the onions, and they are commonly eaten in this way, right? So it's very interesting. Note that for if somebody fries onions, you smell it from a block away. Right? It smells very good. They taste very differently, nicely, and that's why you say Barapli Hadama. Okay, so it's what it says Mishnah Brura 257. Okay, if the onions are coated with butter containing flour and then fried, the proper blessing bareminem is oines. I mean, we're going to different a little different direction, but since they mentioned, so we might say that there is what do they call, like I think they call like onion rings, right? I think like onion rings, and they are actually in the butter like dough, like thin dough, but it still cover the whole onion. So on this dough you say bareminem is even though it's only thin. It's not thick, it's thin, but still you say bareminem is and it's since it's one dish, so it should cover both onion and this dough. Okay, of course, after you finish, you never eat unless person ate a lot. You never ate this kizayis, this 1 ounce or 28 grams approximately of the dough in 2 to 3 up to 9 minutes. Of course not. So you say baren nefashos after you eat it, if you ate enough of these onion rings. Continue. However, if they aged, meaning onions or garlic, if they aged, and have developed very sharp taste, and it is therefore unusual to eat them raw, right? One who does eat them raw should recite the shacha called blessing upon them. Okay, so especially raw, but I would say I just want to add we buy these onions. They call it Spanish onions. They're like flat, and they're very sweet. So I mean they're a little bitter, but more sweet than bitter, I would say. So it's possible to eat them by themselves. Okay, I did not try. We use them for salad, but they're sweet more sweet than bitter. So commentary. Mishnah Brura 3:14, which says difference of the opinion regarding the correct blessing for sharp radishes that are usually eaten only with bread. So sharp. Yeah, there is some that. It's not even healthy to eat them this way. It's like a killing, as Rambam says in Hilchos Dios in chapter 4. It's going to kill your stomach. Don't. I mean, once in a while, just a little, yes, but not on a constant basis. Usually eaten with bread. Rabbi Moshe finds in Igras Moshe Orach Chaim 1, paragraph 64, writes that when eating these radishes without bread, one should recite shechako. Because I would say another thing is because it's harmful, right? And it's not as good as when it's prepared or like cooked or salted or something, or eaten with the bread. But that in order to avoid any question, one should preferably eat radishes only with bread. In which case there is no obligation to recite the blessing upon the radishes at all. Okay. So, okay, any questions before we continue? It's very interesting. So, yes, okay, go ahead.
So, Rabbi Reuben Shlita some time ago mentioned if one is eating like a big meal, which with a bunch of different foods, and where the blessings issue kind of get like complex, he advised to eat it with a piece of bread, so that you can make Hamotzi and then Birkat Hamatzon afterwards, so that he covers all of the blessings. But I don't know if he could elaborate a little bit further.
Okay, yes, very good question. So let's just describe the situation. So, person wants to eat a big meal. What is a big meal? The salad, the big salad, all of like they call it garden salad, or cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, this, that, all this radishes, all the beautiful things, right? Let's say soup, and they have spaghetti and piece of chicken. So it's huge meal, like huge meal, and plus some tea, like special tea, right? So there are two ways to do that. So but sometimes person does not want to eat bread. Sometimes, for whatever reason, right? Or some people have problems, like they do not. I give you an example. During this holiday of Pesach, right? I think I gave this example. So some people in my family say, cannot eat matzah, period. I cannot. Too much. I mean, I love matzah, but not everybody like matzah. They like other food. I mean, it's not the biggest problem in the world, not to like matzah. You understand? Because it's upset the stomach. It's like very, very hard on the body. We understand it's not because of not loving of the mitzvah, but whatever. So I told them, so just make the blessing, separate blessing on all of the foods that you eat. You're not obligated. So if you want to do Birchas Hamazon, do Birchas Hamazon. Eat kizais, as we said. Kizais. What is kizais? It's like kizais is not a lot, right? But we prefer, and we always recommend, to go by the stricter opinion and do kibetza. Kibetza is double kizais, meaning 2 ounces or 56 grams, right? Approximately. It's like 1 slice of bread. It depends on the bread, but right, it's not a lot. It's not a lot, so it's going to be according to all of the opinions. But there is a lenient opinion, and Rabbi Moshe Feinstein Zatzal was one of them. He said if person even eats one kizais, he would still be able to cover all the other foods. Just to clarify, when you eat kizais of anything, you have to say after blessing, including bread, of course. But in order for the bread to cover all other foods, in order for it to be important, so there is a special, many poskim say that you have to eat more than that, not a little piece, but a double of this little piece. But if you eat a little piece, again, the authority is to rely. Are you obligated to do that? No. I mean, you're not obligated to force yourself to eat bread. You understand? So that's the thing. So in this case, for example, going back to our example, you have this salad. So you say you start with the salad. You say one blessing on the whole salad, on one vegetable, right? You eat the vegetables. Then what do you have? Soup. So if it's vegetable soup, for example, you have whatever you have vegetable soup, right? So there is no blessing because they're covered by your salad, right? And liquid in the vegetable soup is considered to be vegetables, just so we know. We didn't get to soup, but just to give us an idea. And then you say baremine mizoines on spaghetti and shechakol on chicken. So it's not it's 3 blessings. And shechakol on chicken is going to cover your tea or whatever you're going to drink. So to say that is a big deal, and then I don't know. And then after you finish eating, you say miam shalosh on spaghetti, separate blessing, and on all other food you say separate blessing. So I mean, we're not obligated to eat extra to say Birchas Hamazon. It's recommended to say Birchas Hamazon, but not obligated. So for example, I always say I have a rule that me personally, nobody else is doing in my family for whatever reason, but I have a rule: at least once a day, I have to do Birchas Hamazon once a day. Sometimes I do twice a day, but sometimes second time it's I don't want to eat so much bread. You understand? So that's it's basically on your discretion, whatever you want to do. You understand? Any questions? Yeah, got it.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. So what about the meal which bread is essentially part of the meal, like a sandwich or a hamburger? if I make birkat hamazon over it, it's gonna cover all of
Yes.
the other blessings.
Yes. So if you say the blessing on the bread, it's going to cover everything. And even though if I apologize, if you say the blessing on the bread, you say Hamotzi lechem min choretz, it's going to cover all of the foods that are usually eaten in a bread meal. So all of these salads, all of the soups, all the fish and chicken, meat, whatever people eat, all of the teas and coffees, like if you need to swallow the food, right, whatever juices, whatever you eat, the drink, it is covered. Besides, there is an exception, of course, fruits are usually not covered because it's dessert. Cakes usually not covered, and wine is usually not covered. And here's the big difference between Ashkenazi tradition and Sephardi tradition. Not all the Sephardim, but some Sephardim. I have to say some because I know that not all of them do. But some of them, since there is a doubt whether cakes, for example, cakes or ice cream or part of ice cream, let's say, right, or grapes that they want to eat are covered by the blessing on the bread. So they would first say Birchas Hamazon, right, finish, and they say the blessing on a cake, on ice cream, on fruits, for example, right? Ashkenazi custom is not like that. So Ashkenazi custom is you say separate blessing. So if you eat, for example, cake for satiation, so if you're still hungry, right? You have a little bread, you have a little salad, but you're starving, you didn't eat since yesterday, right? So this a little piece of bread and this a little salad and few cucumbers did not actually fill you. You're still very hungry, and that was you plan to eat a cake as well. So there is no problem. Cake is covered. It's part of satiation, part of the meal. But if you eat cake because you want something sweet and you're already full and completely full, if you stop 15 minutes ago, also would be good. So of course you say separate blessing on this cake, and you separate blessing on the ice cream, and a separate blessing on fruits. Okay, but some Sephardim, they try to avoid the situation, maybe yes, maybe no. So they make Birchas Hamazon and then blessing before, blessing after. Ashkenazi custom, we include everything. Like even though you say blessing before, there is no problem, right? But the blessing Birchas Hamazon covers everything what we said before. Right, that's what we ate before. Apology. What we ate before doesn't matter. It was wine. Wine never covered by bread. Wine is very important. Never covered by bread. So even though you say Bereprich Gofen on wine, and Bereprich Gofen on wine, you say, right? But after you finish meal, Birchas Hamazon covers the what is it? The blessing after, no problem. So two different customs. So whatever people follow is good. For me personally, whatever this Sephardi custom, I mean, if for example I would choose it, let's say I would choose it does not make sense to me, right? Because in some sense, you force an extra blessing, which is unnecessary. So, and we're trying to to say as least blessing as possible. So, for example, it would be of course there are great rabbis who said that we're not arguing, but just for argument's sake, like we're not as explanation why Ashkenazim do not do that. So, for example, a person cannot eat, for example, he had strawberries, right? He said, strawberry, finished strawberries, and like on the same plates or like next to strawberries there were bananas. So he said blessing after the strawberries, and now he wants to say blessing after bananas. It would be absolutely forbidden. It's like forcing extra blessing. It's a blessing in vain. That's a big issue. It's some people try to be like one person told me. he said, I mean, very sweet person. He was shy, and sometimes I'll ask people, just ask me a question or go on Google. Some things are available on ou.org. Like you don't even need to ask me, right? So he was trying to say the 100 blessings a day. That's proper thing to do, but not on every little thing. So like don't. So he was trying to do rabbinical mitzvah in expense of violating the Torah law and taking the HaShem's name in vain. Okay, he did it only for one Shabbos, but Baruch Hashem we call it on time and stop it. But don't invent things. Okay. You're welcome. Somebody got a question?